In the shadowy corridors of ancient lore, whispers persist about the Nephilim, a cryptic enigma veiled in myth and mystery. Fabled as towering giants or celestial beings, these entities are etched into the annals of history and sacred texts, casting an eerie veil over the past. But what intrigues many curious minds today is not just their existence in bygone eras, but a haunting question that echoes through the ages. Where are they now? Do these colossal figures or their descendants still walk among us, hidden in the fabric of modernity? Join us as we explore the elusive realm of the Nephilim, unearthing clues that might just twist our understanding of reality. If we dive into the cryptic depths of the Book of Genesis, nestled among its more familiar tales lies a bizarre and enigmatic narrative about fallen angels and a breed of extraordinary giants. In a mere 3 verses at the inception of Genesis chapter 6, the King James Version recounts an extraordinary saga. And it came to pass, where men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they choose. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. This perplexing passage unveils an extraordinary saga of celestial beings, human unions, and the birth of a legendary lineage of formidable giants whose existence shrouds the ancient past in an aura of mystery and wonder. Within the original Hebrew text, the term used to describe these awe-inspiring giants and mighty men is Nephilim, originating from the Hebrew word naphal, signifying to fall. This distinctively paints a picture of a race of colossal beings, the fallen ones, born from forbidden unions between celestial sons of God, commonly interpreted as angelic beings, and mortal daughters of men. While the Genesis narrative barely touches upon these Nephilim, they become the center of profound curiosity in later apocalyptic literature, notably the Book of Enoch, which didn't find its place in the biblical canon. In this text, a cohort of desirous angels conspire to intermingle with human women, leading to the birth of these giants. Their existence corrupts and defiles God's creation to such an extent that He is compelled to cleanse the earth with a flood, eradicating these despicable creatures. The Book of Enoch vividly reveals a tale of forbidden desires, divine rebellion, and the catastrophic consequences that emerge from these unholy facts, painting a narrative far more elaborate and captivating than what is briefly hinted at in the Book of Genesis. Studying why the Genesis story about the Nephilim is so short, experts suggest 2 good reasons for why it's brief. Kevin Sullivan, a scholar specializing in ancient Jewish and Christian mysticism, suggests it's either a much longer story that got truncated in the text, or it was so common of a story that the authors of Genesis didn't bother to write down the whole thing, says Kevin Sullivan, a religion professor at Illinois Wesleyan University who specializes in ancient Jewish and Christian mysticism with a focus on angels and demons. Across the landscape of the ancient Near East and the Mediterranean, there were many stories about gods who liked mortal women. They had relationships with them and had children who were part god and part human, known for their incredible strength and abilities. One example is Zeus from Greek myths, who fathered the famous hero Heracles, also called Hercules in Roman myths, after being with the human Alcmene. These demigod figures, familiar to readers of the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament, represent the mighty men of old and the men of renown referenced in Genesis. This brief text offers a glimpse into the origins of these legendary beings. They're superhuman because what they represent is something God never designed, says Sullivan. They're a hybrid between beings that should have stayed in heaven and beings that should be on earth. The Nephilim are not divine in the sense that they're heading back to heaven, so they kind of trundle around the earth as this weird mix. Diving deeper into the complexities of the Nephilim narrative, we uncover the evolution of this intriguing tale through the lens of later Jewish writings, notably the Book of Enoch. Crafted between 300 and 200 BCE, the Book of Enoch expands upon the terse Genesis account, introducing a cadre of rebellious and sinful angels known as the Watchers. These celestial beings, led by the angel Simjaza, also known as Samyaza, comprise a group of 200 who conspire to take wives from among the beautiful and comely mortal daughters. Fully aware that their actions constitute a great sin, these angels forge a pact to proceed with their forbidden desires, determined to face the consequences together. Termed as Irian in Aramaic, a derivation of the word signifying awake, these rebellious angels are sometimes interpreted as the awakened ones. However, more commonly recognized as the Watchers, the name summarizes their celestial duty to vigilantly observe and safeguard mankind. Interestingly, even the loyal angels are later referred to as Watchers in the Book of Enoch, yet the label remains predominantly associated with these renegade entities. This narrative evolution within the Book of Enoch offers a vivid and intricate portrayal of celestial rebellion, forbidden desires, and the moral quandaries faced by these angelic beings as they transgress divine boundaries. It also paints a drastically different portrait of the Nephilim compared to the brief mention in Genesis. According to this text, the Nephilim, offspring of the Watchers and mortal women, aren't just renowned figures. They're depicted as towering giants of colossal stature, reportedly reaching an astonishing height of 3,000 ells, equivalent to over 3,000 meters or approximately 9,840 feet. These monstrous Nephilim are described as insatiable beings, consuming all of mankind's resources until nothing remains. When faced with the scarcity of food, they turn to devouring humans themselves, showcasing a gruesome appetite for destruction. The involvement of the Watchers extends beyond mere procreation, as they impart forbidden knowledge to mortals. These fallen angels teach women various mystical arts, including charms, enchantments, and sorcery utilizing roots and plants. They also educate them in the craft of jewelry making and the art of enhancing one's appearance, particularly the beautifying of the eyelids. On the other hand, the Watchers instruct men in metallurgy, imparting the knowledge of crafting weapons like swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. Because of the mixing of forbidden knowledge and the bad influence of the Nephilim, there's widespread godlessness and a decline in morals among people. The writing shows humans being misled, becoming more corrupt, and engaging in improper behavior, which leads to a point of desperation as their lives fall into disorder and confusion. Only then does God intervene, commanding the angels to warn Noah of the impending flood, a means to cleanse the earth, purging the corruption brought forth by the angels. God assigns the faithful angels to destroy the spirits of the wicked and the children of the Watchers because they are considered responsible for the wrongdoings of humanity. This divine intervention aims to eradicate all wrongdoing, bringing an end to every evil deed that has tainted the face of the earth. In the ancient texts of Genesis, the blame for sin's inception is placed squarely upon Adam and Eve, who defied divine instruction by tasting the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God, disheartened by humanity's wickedness, unleashed a devastating flood to cleanse the earth, sparing only the righteous Noah and his kin. However, the Book of Enoch offers a strikingly different narrative of sin's origins. Here, the culpability shifts away from humans and onto the Watchers and their monstrous offspring. Kevin Sullivan, an expert in ancient Jewish mysticism, suggests that this alternate creation story emerged during Judaism's Second Temple period, spotlighting a cosmic clash between the forces of good and evil embodied by the Watchers. There's this huge amount of literature during the Second Temple period that provided a pretty significant competing narrative to Genesis, noted Sullivan. It says that God created humans in His image and they were good, but it was the angels that messed it all up. The reason there's evil in the world is because of these divine beings. Sullivan highlights how these contrasting narratives coexisted with Judaism for centuries. The Dead Sea Scrolls, a collection that includes remnants of the Book of Enoch alongside other apocalyptic texts, foretell an imminent showdown between divine factions of good and evil. As time progressed into the 1st century CE, figures like Paul from the Judeo-Christian sphere steered theological discourse towards a different trajectory. Their emphasis centered on Adam and Eve's transgression as the pivotal original sin, asserting mankind's need for salvation through Jesus Christ's redemptive grace. Consequently, the saga of the Watchers and the Nephilim gradually receded, with the Book of Enoch relegated to the sidelines as pseudepigraphal literature, texts of uncertain authorship and non-canonical status in the prevailing orthodoxy. This shift reflects the dynamic evolution of theological thought, where differing perspectives on the origins of sin and redemption coalesced and diverged throughout centuries of Judeo-Christian discourse. But are there any descendants of the Nephilim in the world today? The mystery surrounding the Nephilim is as baffling as it is intriguing. Our primary source of information on these enigmatic beings comes from a cryptic passage in Genesis 6:4. However, decrypting this verse poses a myriad of challenges. What does the term Nephilim truly signify? Does it carry a specific technical meaning or a more ambiguous connotation related to falling or causing others to fall? Considering the flood story in Genesis, it's logical to assume that all Nephilim perished during Noah's time. Yet, there's a puzzling aspect to the Genesis account. It implies a resurgence of the Nephilim post-flood. The passage mentions that they were on the earth in those days and also afterward, suggesting a presence after the catastrophic deluge. This puzzle raises many questions and guesses. Did any Nephilim stay alive after the flood and continue their family line secretly? Or did a new group of these strange creatures appear after the big event, making us wonder about their presence in history's shadows? The confusing story of the Nephilim, where they come from and whether they survived the flood or appeared later, keeps people guessing and interested. It makes us think about the mysterious cover hiding these old beings. During Moses' time, scouts explored the Promised Land, and their report made people both amazed and afraid. Even though they recognized the land was rich and fertile, 10 of the scouts were worried about the people living there. In Numbers chapter 13, verse 32 through 33, they describe them as strong and powerful, descendants of Enoch, connected to the legendary Nephilim. These folks were famous for being very tall and strong, painting a picture of intimidating opponents. This relates to Genesis 6:4, which mentions the Nephilim as heroes of old, men of renown. The Septuagint, an old Greek version of the Old Testament, translates Nephilim as giants to explain these mysterious figures. Interestingly, the Old Testament talks about giants several times, especially when talking about encounters with the Philistines. Goliath is the most famous among them. See Deuteronomy 3:11. Unlike the idea of people being part human and part angel, these giants were just really big men. It's possible that Nephilim came to mean a type of giant warrior with a sense of mystery attached to it. This word might have been like how we use monster today, describing both big size and a mysterious feeling. Just like monster today can mean something very big, suggest something evil, or refer to creatures like vampires or werewolves, Nephilim might have described huge, mysterious warriors with unclear origins. Even nowadays, we see really tall people, like those in the NBA or NFL, who seem extraordinary because of their size. But this doesn't mean there's a secret group of part human, part angel people hiding among us. It seems that during Moses and Joshua's time, the Nephilim were basically the descendants of Enoch, a group of very large and scary individuals. This idea suggests that there might be descendants of these powerful beings around today, similar to how there could be distant relatives of Moabites, Amalekites, Hittites, or Babylonians among us. Enoch, a term believed to signify giant in Hebrew, plays a minor yet intriguing role in biblical narratives. He's considered the progenitor of the Enochites, also known as the Anakim, a people who inhabited the land of Canaan prior to the arrival of the Israelites. But delving into this ancient lore raises more questions than answers. What's evident from biblical accounts is a similar attitude toward both the Nephilim and the Anakim, both considered embodiments of sin, destined for removal from the earth. The Nephilim met their demise in the flood, but the Anakim faced obliteration at the hands of Caleb and Joshua. As recorded in Joshua's chapter, at the time Joshua went and destroyed the Anakites from the hill country, recounting their eradication from various locations. It's detailed how Joshua utterly wiped out the Anakim and their settlements, an event etched in the annals of biblical history. Beyond Joshua's encounters with the Anakim, the giants don't sustain significant prominence in subsequent biblical narratives. Their presence fades into obscurity, leaving a veil of uncertainty enveloping their legacy and ultimate fate. The tantalizing mystery surrounding these ancient giants, Enoch and his descendants, leaves us pondering their existence and their vanishing from the pages of history. Were they really eradicated in the flood, or did they manage to survive it? Did they come back? Are they among us today? And if not, can they return someday? Those are some questions that we might not get the answer to and will leave us pondering for the rest of our lives.